All right, so this is just going to be a really simple test. I really want to show you all what this combination looks like and how I think it's going to be a really interesting combination to get really creative looks with the lenses that you already have. Obviously, I'm talking about the tuners and the Arles. This is not the first video I've made, but this is the first video I made with the tuners and this lens on full frame. So I think it's worth kind of just doing this really chill video, nothing over the top, no behind the scenes, nothing like that. I'm just in my kitchen, so you can actually see some details here, some specular highlights, so I can actually talk about what's going on and what you're actually seeing in this frame. And yeah, hopefully it'll be... Just want to jump in here. You will notice that I'm very soft. It was difficult for me to pull focus and stay in the same spot, even though I am sitting. I'd clean it up later on in the video, so if it's distracting, I apologize in advance, but please listen to the information I got to deliver because I still think it's worth listening to. Okay, back to the video. I'm on the Kinefinity Edge 6K full frame. This is the 21mm RO at T1.8, but this is what it is, looks like wide open. And then the L2, which is trying to mimic the K35 look. And all what that really means is the K35s were known to have these soap bubble bokeh in the background, a little bit of softness in the middle, but it's relatively sharp. And so as you can see here, you can already see the harder edge bokeh happening. And that's what this tuner is doing. The Arles do not have this characteristic with their bokeh. It's way smoother and rounder. These give you that harder edge and that soap bubbly look. I'm a little out of focus, but granted, I'm trying to focus myself and look at this and look at camera. But to clean this up, if this is too much hazy going on, you just stop down just a tad bit. And this is where the strength of these tuners shine, because you can adjust through the strength of the variable tuner, which allows you to go from 0 to 10. So you change the strength. You have that sort of spectrum to change from. But also you can dial in your aperture to get a still sharper image in the center, but you still have the characteristics shining through here. My exposure is going to be all over the place. I'm not using any sort of controlled lighting. I just have this big old bay window behind me as my light, and it's going to be bright at some times, it's going to be dark at some times, but that's fine. Real quick, I want to thank today's sponsor, Cordbag. Now, as most of you already know and seen, Cordbag has been a long time supporter of my channel. They provide high quality pouches and labels for organizing your gear. And today I'm happy to showcase their newest product, the Cordbag Brick. They have a half brick and a full brick. I always struggled a little bit with certain items to fit in the smaller or the medium pouches, especially my DJI Mic 2 case and accessories. This half brick is just right for this accessory. Also, these number 2 limited edition patches awakens my inner 90s. They just look so good. Anyways, there's an affiliate link below as well as a discount code to get 15% off your next purchase. So check it out. Now, I get this question asked a lot about the Arles. Are they too clean? Do they have enough character? My answer to that is both. The Arles already have a really good, clean, neutral look. Vintage or clean, that's very subjective in a lot of different ways, but this has a very good neutral profile that allows you to use lens accessories like this, the tuners, to really change that characteristic. This is going to be hard. Now, the tuners are variable detuned lens accessories. These are not speed boosters. These go between the camera and the lens and allows you to change the strength of a particular look from 0 to 10. They have the L1, which is a super Botar look. This gives you much more softer quality, a little bit of swirl. It changes a little bit of the characteristics. Very hazy, very creamy, very bloomy. And you can change the strength of that and you can really dial that in. The L2 is a K35 replica, which is trying to mimic, and what they're known for is a soap bubble bokeh in the background, so you kind of see the harder edge bokeh here and there. as well as a little bit of nice fall off, but still sharp in the center relatively. And the L3 is the most difficult one to explain, but I'll show you an anamorphic lens to really give the comparison. But L3 has some anamorphic qualities. It's not an anamorphic lens. Think of it as adding anamorphic characteristics to spherical lenses that you can kind of recrop, reframe. This is good if you need to match certain lenses with certain anamorphics. This is actually really beneficial in that space if you're doing things on a cheaper budget. Even if too, on high-end stuff, I see it a lot of times where they pick a spherical lens that has similar characteristics to the anamorphic lenses that they're using for insert shots. This is going to be something that can be beneficial to you to have to get it even closer so you can have those certain elements and tweak it in post and things like that. So those are the benefits of using the tuners. This is actually one of my favorite pieces of tech that's come out in the recent last 2 years. I did help with the Kickstarter a few years back, and I really do believe in this product because, again, it transforms your lens set. If you really want to stretch your dollar, and one thing I always tell a lot of people too is that buying lenses, investing in lenses is a much better investment than buying a camera. If you can juice up and change the characteristics and do this and that and the other with your lenses, your camera body is always going to change, but if you can do that with your lenses, that's really valuable because now you have a plethora of paintbrushes, as you can say, to use to get specific looks that you want to dial in. And here's the difference between this and filters. I get this question a lot. Filters only do one thing. They just soften your image. The tuners have the ability to change the strength and introduce more optical changes in your lens. Now the flare still stays the same, but the corners might get soft, you get a little bit more of the interesting bokeh, like all those other things that matter that filters cannot do. This is the major difference between the two. To be clear, don't think of the tuners as a set that you have to buy. You don't need all three. Just choose one based on your taste of the character that you want. Okay, so this here is L1. This is going to be the strongest tuner out of the set. You can already see how much of a difference this is making with the RL. You see a clean slate here, and now you see the L1. This thing is pretty strong, pretty powerful, but again, don't fret. You can adjust what you want and need. Right now, I'm wide open, and I'm at the lowest strength. This is turned up all the way. And you can see all of that halation. Look at the top of my hat, my glasses. It gets really bloomy, really smeary. But here's the beauty of the combinations of things. If I turn down my aperture, now it's a little bit more tame. You still get a little bit more of that halation here in the bloom. It's a little smeary back there. See what it's doing to the bokeh in the background as well. Kind of gets some curvature there, but it becomes really interesting. Now I'm at about T2.8 roughly. So now if I turn down the strength of the tuner, look how the center just sharpens up now. And it's a little more manageable. Again, you can stop down. Now if you go all the way down to like 5.6, that's about 5.6 there, open that up. That's manageable. Look at that. Like my face is relatively sharp still. And then you still get that interesting smeary, swirly, whatever you want to call that back there happening. But this still looks good, still usable. Look at the fall off. Look at the edge of my shoulders here. Yeah, the control that you have with this is so interesting. And in terms of operation with the set, if you have a well-versed first AC and they're using this setup and you guys are using this, they'll keep note of what the strength is of the tuner as you are filming, so to keep it consistent. If there's any weirdness of like if they accidentally bump it, they'll have a device like this, a focus grip unit. Maybe they can lock it off, because right now I have the tuner on the zoom rocker, which is here. That's controlling the strength of it, and it's difficult to actually bump because it's not as fidgety. This is a DJI Focus Pro. But just to know, like, you guys just be aware of, what you're using. There is no locking option on here. The dampening on the tuner is still stiff enough. It's not loosey-goosey. It's not going to be just flying all over the place if you're handheld or anything like that. Yeah, I just want to make that comment because I know some people have some concerns about that. But look at that. Like, you can control L1. You can tame it, which is kind of cool to see. Again, if I throw this open, that's wide open at T1.4. It's just, now it's a time period piece. Think of like Barry Lyndon, right? And you can just change the strength there. Let me bring down my exposure. Just tame it. Just bring that down, close that down a little bit. Open that up, close this, and then you can control your strength, and then now you can pull focus without stressing out. The Arles are a perfect match for the tuners because they have a shorter rear element so it doesn't knock against the protruding glass that's in the tuners, as well as they are a fast 1.4 super speed, I guess you could say, for that. So that allows you to get as much character out of this for those who love to shoot wide open. Right now you're looking at a T2. This is nice for me and it still has that characteristics. Now watch, if I pull the strength up a little bit, look how that just changed. So like look here, look at it, a little bit of that harder edge on the bokeh now. And that's quite nice. This is enough character for me, honestly, for a look like this. That's just enough change. Now, the best lenses to use are fast T-stops or fast f-stops. So your regular photo lenses to go to EF. So your 1.8, 1.5s, you can find them. Zeiss has a lot of them. But your more cine house lenses, the Signal Primes, the Zeiss CPs, you have also like the Tokinas and of course the Arles. I mentioned these lenses because these are quality optics, and especially once you open up wide enough without the tuners, they don't fall apart. This gives you a good reference when, as you can see here, I'm just going to open up how much this kind of softens. Now, if you had this with a lens that it did really poorly wide open, you'll probably be in it'll be a nightmare for you. So lenses that optically perform well wide open are preferred and have fast T-stops, 1.4, 1.5, 1.8, you get it. The PL versions of the tuners have the ability to change the mounts. So you can go from E mount, X mount, RF mount, and L mount. I personally think that the PL version is a better investment because this will grow with you over time as you invest in PL lenses, which can be used on any camera with a PL adapter. Some of the technical things you need to be aware of. In each of the box, there is a little card or measuring device where you can measure the PL, the rear element, because some PLs are not compatible with this. My beloved Nisi Athenas, they can't work with these adapters just because the rear element protrudes so much when focusing. It's going to bump right up against it. So the shallower the rear element is, the better. Most likely it will fit on these adapters. So something to be aware of. All right. We are now on the, I always like this shot. Always like this shot. Okay, so now we're on the Blazar 45, just to give you a reference of what the L3 on the 40. But man, the 45 on full frame looks so good. There we go. There's going to be some brightness happening there. Yeah, so like I was kind of hinting at earlier, the L3 is really unique. You really got to finesse how you're going to use that one. But I can see it when, when sets want to use spherical lenses to sometimes match certain anamorphic lenses, because some sphericals can do that. They just, they crop it and then kind of do some more things in post. But having something optical like the L3 can kind of remove a little bit of that post effort that you need to do to match that lens with said anamorphic lenses that you're using. This is definitely an interesting one. So now let me put it on the 40 Arles and see what this looks like in reference. We're going to see what the curvature is going to look like, if there's anything like that, and we're going to look for what the bokeh is doing, how the fall off is. But yeah, I really like this shot on the 45 Blazar. Okay, let's switch this out. Okay, the L3 is definitely doing something here. This is the least amount of strength, and then this is full strength. Look how, let's get confused. Look how this reacts. It gets skinnier. A little bit of vertical bokeh here. If I want to focus up a little bit, there we go. It's still relatively sharp in the middle. And I'm wide open right now. I can just stop down to like a 2. And there you go. There's that look. That's the 40 on the L3. Huh. Rack forward. And rack back. The L3 will introduce some chromatic aberration. Again, anamorphic characteristics. So obviously, you got to kind of find the right, if you want to match the 45 Blazar to one of these, I think you need like the 35 at least for this, or the 25. 20 was a bit too wide, doesn't have that same compression as the 45. But I'll, you know, crop it and make it look similar to this, but it's still not going to get close. The 40 is too tight, so you lose these edges. Okay, this is the least amount of strength. And so it's doing something interesting here. It does change the bokeh. It doesn't give that vertical look. But if I put up the strength, see how that switched? Look how it's giving it a bit of a swirl now back there. And I'm gonna just try to focus on my face. Yeah, look what's happening right there. So look how it's like falls off, gets sharp here, falls off, gets a little bit sharper right here. Same thing here. And I bring this in and out. So look, right about there's that random focal plane. Not really, about there really. So it's really neat. You got to play with it. It is sort of this optical illusion that's happening here, but it can be beautiful. I still have yet to put this through its paces on set. I am writing quite a few things right now, but it's just so hard to write short films while you're in the middle of like writing treatments and working with other productions. So I'm trying to get something narrative going this year. That's my hope and prayer, but we'll see what happens. But whatever I make, I've already made in my mind what the look is going to be. It's going to be one of these combinations of the Arles and the tuners. That's definitely going to happen this year, or at least a test for it at least. Again, that's full. That's the lowest there. Yeah, that's interesting. Again, share your thoughts in the comments below.